Then Eli answered and said, Go in peace, and the God of Israel grant thee thy petition that thou hast asked of him. In verse 18, and she said, Let thine handmaiden find grace in thy sight. So the woman went her way and did eat, and her countenance, watch this, was no more, and it originally says no more, but the help there says it's no more sad. Hannah prayed, and she had enough faith to know that now it's in the Lord's hands. Before she got on her knees, she was seemingly at the mercy of her situation. Her situation was that here she is in a house where children have been born by the handmaiden rather than the wife of her husband, whom he loved her. But this other woman was able to have children, and they mocked her daily. So day in and day out. And her husband tried everything he could. He said, Aren't I better to you than 10 sons? And it didn't matter what he said, what he did. She just was not going to be happy. But what I want us to get from this story is that when she went into prayer, and when she was deeply within her heart, the heart is the place where your decisions, your emotions, where your judgments are made. The heart is the seat of your cognitive ability. Your heart is where everything happens. And so out of her heart, she was petitioning God. And then as she's interrupted by the prophet or by Samuel, and she explains the situation. But what I want us to get is that after she was done, it says that she got up from there, no more sad. When you petition the God of heaven in true faith that he's going to move on your behalf, when we petition God on behalf of our youth or ourselves, we should get up from there being no more sad, because your faith says that God is going to move and help us in this situation. What faith does is it helps us go to where we need to go. It keeps us grounded. But prayer, when prayer happens, we pray knowing that there is nothing else we can do to help us out of this situation. Now, as we're going to Philippians 4, we're going to be at Philippians 4:6, one of my favorite texts. We're going to be in Philippians 4:6. But what I want you to see, there was nothing that she could do. See, if you can do for yourself, you should do the things you can do. God will intervene on the stuff you can't do nothing about. Okay, the Israelites, they had walked out of Egypt. That's what they could do. But once they got to the Red Sea, God got to do something, because they can't do nothing about that water in front of them. So now they did what they can do. Now it's time for God to do what he does. And when it comes to our youth, it's the same situation. Yes, we got to pray, but there is something we can do. We got to break the yoke and put a new yoke on. We can do that. But after that, we have to pray and make sure that we, through faith in God, that God is going to cause us to have strength. God is going to lead us in the way that we should go with that child. And when we pray, we don't have to be stressed out. We don't have to worry. And some of us will stay up all kinds of night and run ourselves crazy over one child, and you got one that's being neglected because you worried about the other. But when you pray, you have to just know that God's going to give me that peace that surpasses all, not some, All. Now watch this. Verse 6. We're in Philippians 4, verse 6. Be careful for nothing. Some versions will say, be anxious for nothing. And then it says, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. Okay, we in school. Being careful or being anxious, this is where we get our term anxiety. You will go into a depressive state if day in, day out, all you do is focus on what's wrong in your life. Day in and day out, when you get up, you're thinking about the wayward child. When you get up, you're thinking about what's wrong with your job. When you get up, you're thinking about what's wrong with your weight, what's wrong with your health, what is wrong, and that continuously plays out in your heart, your mind, and what ends up happening is that you become anxious. Now, anxiety carries with it this idea. A person that is anxious or a person that has anxiety disorders, they are stressed in a situation where no real danger exists. Yeah, okay, come over here. They are stressed as if they're really in danger, but in reality, no real danger exists. It's kind of like, you say, well, something must be wrong with the person. If we were walking down the street together and we were just talking, then all of a sudden one of us break out into a stride and start running. You might start running too, but you want to know where we running from. And what ends up happening, though, is that person might say, well, I thought I saw a shadow or a dog or whatever you thought you saw. But whether or not the danger really existed remains to be seen in that situation. But I want you to see that the God that we serve, see, Paul said it this way. If God be for you, who? So if God be for me, what should I worry? And if I really take up that understanding, then the question is, what real danger am I in? Y'all, this ain't helping us. This ain't helping us because, see, to get to this lesson, it requires one to truly trust and take God at his word. It requires you, when you read the text, be careful for nothing, to know that Paul is saying, don't worry, be happy. He says, don't worry about nothing. And in some form of fact, he says, but pray about everything. Paul, why should I not worry about nothing? Should I not be concerned? Should I be disinterested? That's not what he's saying. He simply said, you don't have to be stressed out about something that really ain't that dangerous, because when you pray, God's got it. If God be for you, who? So when you pray, Paul is simply saying, when you give it to God, he's got it. Now watch this. There are some dangers in this text. There are some dangerous things that come with being anxious. See, when you get anxious, not only are you afraid of a danger that really don't exist, but whatever you're working on, progress has to come to a halt.